Ladies and gentlemen, EC3. Trouble, 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 trouble.
Hey everybody, Mr. The Fanboy here back for another video, and this is my several reasons why I do not like the WWE and why I like CMLL, New Japan, TNA, the Indies, and many more much better. The number one reason, because like I said, now most of my hatred for the WWE, believe it or not, especially after seeing this past week's episode, this past Monday's episode of Raw, one of the main reasons. So yeah, my hatred for WWE is going down. However, I still hate and do not like the WWE. I'm one of those guys who, no matter what you do, I will never forgive you for what you did in the past. That's how I am with WWE. So it's no matter what you do, I will never truly be a fan of WWE because of what all the things they've done in Vince McMahon Jr.'s 20 plus year existence with WWE. The first problem I have with WWE is, of course, Vince McMahon back in the early 80s when he acquired the company from his dad. Of course, he violated the handshake rule and killed off the territories by luring away all the wrestlers by luring all the wrestlers away from various territories and pretty much expanding, going against what his father said and expanding his company. I hate when people give Vince McMahon praise for this and they try to say, well, Vince McMahon made wrestling good for everyone. No, he made wrestling good for Vince McMahon. What's his name? And then of course when he did this, his vision of what professional wrestling should be versus what professional wrestling was. Professional wrestling was larger than life characters, fast-paced, exciting action, and kick-ass wrestling. Vince McMahon turned this. We still have the larger-than-life characters, but we had lame Saturday morning cartoon characters, just ultra lame characters like Hulk Hogan. Not Hulk Hogan. Characters like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, the Hart Foundation, the Rockers, the Strike Force team, and Bad News. These guys were pretty, and the British Bulldogs. These guys were pretty cool. But you had other lame characters like Hillbilly Jim, Coco Beware, Kabbalah. Even though that was actually, much to my surprise, created by Jerry the King Lawler, but Kabbalah. So many lame. It was just, and the whole thing was just a Saturday morning. Was just some lame Saturday morning cartoon. He turned wrestling with fast-paced, intense brawling, and holds into highly exaggerated, over-the-top choreographed fights. You can't even call WWE wrestling. As a wrestling purist, cannot call WWE wrestling. Guys guys, and this right here made me hate him forever because this continued all the way until just rather recently. Just rather recently, Vince McMahon encouraging steroid use. Now he didn't force these guys to take steroids, but I hated that he forced wrestlers to be bigger. You had to be as big as Hulk. You had to be as big as Hulk Hogan was to get a top spot, to get the top spot in WWE and to be a world champion. Technical wrestler, average size technical wrestler, was forever buried in the under and mid card, forever buried in the under and mid card. Then when he was called up on this, he lied. He lied. On Dono's show, or I think that's his name, Dono's show. This was during the steroid trials. The guy asked, "Could you make it in WWE without steroids? Could you make it in WWE without steroids and being a big guy?" Vince McMahon lied his ass off. There's a video online saying Vince McMahon owns the host of I keep forgetting the show he was owning. I didn't see no one owning anything. All I saw was Vince McMahon doing something wrong and can't admit and own up to it. Yeah, can't handle jail. But yeah, the and people, that problem has continued until rather recently. That's one of the reasons wrestlers like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero are alive. Yeah, Chris Benoit killed his wife, but as it was revealed by his sisters, he had an enlarged heart. He had an enlarged heart. So if he didn't kill his wife, and his son, Chris Benoit would have been dead before the end of 2007, or at least by early 2008. And Vince McMahon didn't care. Eddie Guerrero had to die for him to start testing wrestlers. They had wrestlers on drugs, on the juice, on taking everything, not caring about the wrestlers and stuff. Then you have the nerve. See, if it was like all the other promotions, ECW, WCW, NWA and stuff, see, those promotions, there was drugs and steroids in those promotions too. Actually, there wasn't much steroids in those promotions, but there was drugs and stuff in those promotions. But yeah, see, that was a territory system. They didn't force wrestlers to travel like WWE does. They didn't have a road schedule. WWE, to this day, I ask myself, why does that company have a road schedule? Why? And people say, and you got defenders saying, well, it's not as intense as the 80s and 90s. Get rid of it. Why do you have a road schedule? Real combat sports do not, and they're much more intense than WWE. So why does WWE have a road schedule? Why are these guys 100, what is it, 370 something days, 700 something days a year? Why are they on the road that long? That causes families and stuff. The wrestlers can't see their families, and that causes families to become broken. So like I said, all of this disgusting things, and speaking of disgusting things, all the racism, racism stuff. Now there have been racist storylines and stuff can be done well in wrestling, but Vince McMahon, it's not even storylines. It's just racist crap. What does Piper painting himself half black have to do with his feud with Bad News Brown, Bad News Allen? What does Then of course I mentioned, and it's just racist crap. Unlike the Virgil, which this one was actually good, the Virgil Ted DiBiase storyline, it's just racist crap. It's just random racist crap. You mentioned the Slick character. The Slick character, zoom ups of him eating fried chicken. Calling Dusty Rhodes' helper Sapphire, calling Shelton Benjamin the Mama angle, which led to nowhere. He led to him getting an Intercontinental Championship, which he already won that in '04. So it didn't do anything for his career. He was in the same spot he was always in. The Shelton Benjamin Mama angle, Crime Time, which I used to hate Crime Time. dude. But I respect JTG and Shaq Gaspar and feel sorry for what they had to go through during their time in WWE and for being saddled for what I saw was a crappy gimmick. But they ran with that garbage gimmick. Crime time. Um, and to this day, currently, tag teams like Primetime Players was okay, but that was just another shuck and jive tag team. So was so was the New Day Church Singers. Then the New Day I hate because not only is the gimmick not good, but it's a rehash of a gimmick from the past. Um, Mabel, Oscar, and Mo Men on a Mission, and that gimmick from the '90s was much better than this crappy rehash of that gimmick. Except they're gospel singers instead of rappers. But yeah, more stereotypical gimmicks. Oh yeah, the Triple H Booker T thing. The Triple H Booker T thing, which to this day I will always take offense to that. Not only because of the racism, but they will imply that Triple H is better than Booker T. Triple H, who sucks. There are wrestlers worse than him, but Triple H is got to be one of the worst wrestlers and one of the worst workers of all time, man. Just a mediocre, average worker at best, who was shoved down everyone's throats for almost for for almost 14 years, man. And it's still and it still and it still appears on and he still appears on television today. And that's so yeah. Which brings us to my next reason I hate WWE. Oh yeah, trying to convince me that wrestlers like John Cena, Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton. And Randy Orton is my favorite of this clique. But trying to convince me that these guys are the best wrestlers of all time. These three right here, and since they were pushed as champions, they were pushed as world champions, have to be three, and sometimes four. Like Randy Orton, because he was the actual worker of the group, have to be the worst wrestlers of all time. That's Batista, Triple H, and John Cena. Let's start off with Triple H. Triple H, average everything. Average worker, average on the mic, barely an athlete, especially after his knee surgeries. All he is a gimmick and a sledgehammer. That's all Triple H. All Triple H. All Triple H is, unless the other guy in the ring is as good as he is, or no, scratch that, better than he is, can have a good match with him, has chemistry with him. Triple H, all his matches are terrible, man. All his matches are terrible, or unless they're street fights, which that better be good because that's just weapons and stuff. That's not technique or anything. Street fights or any matches that involve multiple people are the only matches Triple H is usually good in. But his matches are usually terrible. Then we got John Cena, who I think Triple H is a better technical wrestler than John Cena, but as a worker, John Cena is way better than Triple H. I'm more entertained when I watch John Cena wrestle than when I watch Triple H wrestle. However, John Cena, my problem with John Cena, despite being, he's actually not that bad of a wrestler. He's only bad when you compare him to everyone else on the roster and the all-time greats and all the people who are not wrestling in WWE, who are wrestling in Japan, Mexico, and the Independents. He will be the worst wrestler alive. He will be the worst wrestler alive, but he's actually an okay wrestler. My problem with John Cena, his gimmick, and the fact that he's been shoved down my throats for almost for almost 12 years now. That guy has been shoved down everyone's throat for 12 years now. That guy's been shoved down everyone's throat. I hate his gimmicks. Let's start off with the only gimmick of his I actually like was the prototype gimmick. That was the gimmick he debuted. That was the gimmick he had on the independent circuit in Ultimate Pro Wrestling and OVW, and the gimmick he debuted when he wrestled Kurt Angle in his debut match, only without the prototype gimmick. The hip hop gimmick of the Dr. Thugonomics was entertaining, but I didn't like that gimmick, especially when I discovered that the gimmick he was WWE back then was actually trying to portray John Cena as a guy from the streets, as a real street rapper or gangster rapper. When I saw that he wasn't what he was talking about, he wasn't what he was talking about. That's when I started to turn on him. They started to get sick of his gimmick, and he was always mad corny. Even though he did have some hilarious raps, he was always mad corny, and see, I never liked this gimmick. Then in 2006, he got the worst gimmick of all time, even worse than the Superman rapper gimmick, and that was the Marine gimmick. I'd rather him pretend he's a rapper than him being a Marine. Me being a Marine when he's never even served in the military. So the crappy Marine gimmick, and now he's the C Nation, the Superman, Hulk Hogan, poor man's Hulk Hogan ripoff type gimmick. Like I said, and his character now is beyond stale. At least from character from 2002 to 2008 was at least somewhat good, somewhat good. That was John Cena's best. Since 2009, he's had good matches and feuds here and there, but he has been boring. He has been boring. And this guy helped kill the WWE. Now let's get to the most popular one of the bunch, and that's Batista. This guy, he claims he left WWE because John Cena killed hardcore edgy wrestling. Well, I do agree with him there, but he killed the concept of wrestling too. Batista, I like Batista as a character and as a personality, but as a wrestler, he's worse than Cena and Triple H. He doesn't get the credit for being worser. The bashing and the credit that he deserves for being a worse wrestler than Cena and Triple H. See, when Batista was with Evolution, when he was with Evolution, I actually liked him because that's what a wrestler of his build and size is meant for. Is meant to be a bodyguard to another wrestler. But as soon as he broke on his own, while it was a cool moment when he turned on Triple H and Flair and ended Evolution forever and became a main eventer, he was just it was terrible. So many terrible matches. I had never, once again, just like with Triple H, I've never been entertained by a Batista match unless he was wrestling Benoit, Guerrero, or Booker T, or some kind of in-ring general who could have a good match with him. Never been entertained by a Batista match. All he is a spine buster, spear, and a power bomb. That's basically it, man. One of the worst wrestlers of all. One of the worst wrestlers. One of the worst wrestlers of all time, man. Batista, man. He's much better in Hollywood as an actor than he was as a wrestler. So, yeah, Dave Batista. I can see why a lot of people criticize him for this, but I can see why Eric Bischoff or WCW management, they told guys like Taker, Triple H, and Batista they had no chance in the business. I see why. These guys suck. WWE is the only place these guys can succeed in the business. Anywhere else, they will be jobbers and undercarters. Yeah. Next is, oh yes, Undertaker. He's another reason I hate WWE. The reason I hate Undertaker, this guy is first off, is an average wrestler at best. He's not believable. He's not believable. He does have some believable because of his size, but he's not believable as a fighter or as a wrestler. This guy is a self-proclaimed MMA and boxing fan, yet he throws some of the worst punches I've ever seen in wrestling. All he is just is a gimmick and a couple of moves, the choke slam and the tombstone. Tombstone. This guy, once again, unless the other guy in the ring, never entertained by Undertaker match as an adult. Man. As an adult. He's just like Triple H. The other guy in the ring has to be as good as he is, has to be a good in-ring general, or it has to be a match that involves multiple people, man. Our only matches he's good at. His whole career was a gimmick, and now his gimmick is beyond stale. Or once again a street fight, or some kind of Hell in a Cell match, some kind of violent match. Our only matches scene that Undertaker was good in. So he's not a good wrestler. But my main hatred for Undertaker came. It was Vince McMahon's idea, but and this is another reason I hate WWE. The burial of Diamond Dallas Page and the WCW wrestlers. It was Vince's idea, but it was Undertaker who suggested burying Diamond Dallas Page and everyone and all the WCW wrestlers. And to this day, I will never forgive Vince McMahon or the WWE wrestlers. The WCW wrestlers, the WWE wrestlers, they were so afraid of their spot and they hated that. And Vince McMahon himself hated that. And Steiner said, Scott and Rick said this too. He hated that the WCW wrestlers did their job. Their job was to be better than you. But when they came to WWE, Vince had to straight up bury all of that, man. Had to straight up bury all of that. I will never forgive Vince for burying what's his name. That's what I said. No matter what WWE does, I will always hate WWE. No matter what they do, no matter how good they become, I will always hate them. I will always be that hater. I will always be talking trash about them, wishing they would go out of business, and stuff, or at least just get canceled from television. That way I won't have to deal with them, even though that doesn't matter because I don't watch anyway. So yeah, the burial of WCW guys. Then owning all of the wrestling footage, which means you can come on here and false flag everything. Yet, and you can do that because you own the footage. Yet you don't release DVDs, and I'm not talking best of DVDs. I'm talking DVDs of the actual shows, the pay-per-views and stuff. Not a best of DVD with some BS documentary and a couple of random matches thrown together. And WWE DVDs suck now. At least back in the 2000s with the Hard Knocks Benoit DVD, the Cheating Death, Stealing Life Eddie Guerrero's DVD, the Rise and Fall of ECW, and the Road Warriors DVD. These were some awesome DVDs. Hulkamania Still Rules back in 2002 was an awesome DVD too. So the DVDs were awesome. Now the DVDs are terrible. With the Rise and Fall of WCW, had to be the worst DVD I ever watched. Well, speaking of WCW, and then WCW pay-per-views, which are on the network. First off, I mentioned how much I hate the network, how much the stuff, and how I do not want a WWE network, but on the WWE network, the pay-per-views. See, WCW used a lot of sampled and used a lot of copyrighted music. So WWE, instead of paying the rights to use this music, they go over it and throw in their own generic music in there. On one match on DVD, the Chris Benoit versus Booker T Best of 7 series, one of their matches. Booker T, his awesome rap sheet, WCW theme, that's what it's called, his WCW WWE themes, rap sheet with various remixes. They replaced that with some lame generic hip hop beat style music, man. Hip hop beat style music. They also replaced Jimi Hendrix Voodoo King. I think that's what it's called. Voodoo King, the song Hulk Hogan used when he was with the NWO and when he came back to WWE in the early 2000s. Early 2000s. Yeah, these are reasons I hate Vince McMahon, and just making wrestling look terrible, making wrestling embarrassing to like, making wrestling just embarrassing like what he was doing. You had the 80s and 90s. You had the 80s and 90s, which was some lame Saturday morning cartoon, lame cartoonist wrestling that only him and his writers find entertaining. Then you had the Attitude Era, garbage Crash TV, rip off of ECW. Then you have the probably the best era, the Ruthless Aggression era, but this was still a toned down version of the Attitude Era and another rip off of the ECW War Crash TV garbage, and the worst era of all time, the PG era. The PG era, you have terrible ratings. You have No stars. You have no stars apart from the time part timers, and you're nothing without your nostalgia acts. Just a bland mainstream indie company. It's what WWE is now. WWE is now, and like I said, and yes, these are reasons I hate WWE. Even if you're good now, that doesn't make up for all the years that you sucked and all the bad things you did in the past. So and like I said, this video was also why I like New Japan and them better. What? Well, for starters, all of these promotions, the guys they push at the top are over. Are over. People actually like them. The guys they push at the top. TNA, TNA. You have Eddie Edwards, EC3, Bobby Lashley, Drew Galloway, and people like Spud. The fans actually like these guys. These guys were being pushed at the top. Same goes with the Hardys. In New Japan, Okada, I also like to say he's Roman Reigns. Okada and Tanahashi are Roman Reigns and Cena done right. Both of these guys done right. Real people's champions, real top baby faces that people actually like. That people actually like. Then then of course badass heels. Another problem I have with WWE, weak pussy heels. Back in the day, you had badass heels like the Outsiders, the NWO, Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, Triple H back then was a badass heel. So yeah, Brock Lesnar during his heel run, you had badass heels. Now you have weak pussy shit heels. When Seth Rollins was a heel, he was constantly running, which brings me to my next thing: the discrimination against the small guys, continuing from the steroid things. Every time there's a small wrestler in WWE, this ended with AJ Styles, but up until AJ Styles, every time there was a small wrestler from WWE, even if he was massively over, no world title, no world title. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, they intentionally sabotaged the awesome CM Punk, the CM Punk the CM Punk storyline, the awesome Summer of Punk storyline, transformed CM Punk. They transformed CM Punk into a John Cena from his awesome tweener type character to a lame John Cena babyface. Then they stopped his awesome feud with John Laurinaitis, which was based on real life, and replaced him and had Cena feud with John Laurinaitis, where they had what was widely considered one of the worst matches of all time of that year at Over the Limit. Then, of course, they buried him in the mid card. They buried him in the mid card, and then finally, eventually, he needed this, but then they finally turned him heel, and The Rock beat him for the title. The Rock beat him for the title in a phenomenal match. But like I said, screwing the discrimination and screwing the small guys. Then Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan does not wait till WrestleMania to cash in his belt, like he said. He instead attacks Big Show from behind and wins the belt. It stays a face, but slowly turns a heel, and they get involved with AJ. Then they bury him in an 18-second match at WrestleMania, which did nothing but destroy your babyface Sheamus and make people like Daniel Bryan even more. Then when he finally wins it at SummerSlam, he gets quickly defeated by Randy Orton and is involved with this lame authority storyline. Then finally wins it at WrestleMania 30. I keep forgetting how he lost it. How he lost it. Oh yeah, then how he lost it, and then of course the Royal Rumble comes. They didn't learn their lesson. At Royal Rumble 2014, Daniel Bryan was down in the Royal Rumble, causing fans to hijack the show. Then 1 year later, 2015, Roman Reigns. No, they still don't learn their lesson. They have a Final Four consisting of Big Show, Roman Reigns, Kane, and I forgot who the other guy was, but Daniel Bryan. And they still learning their lesson. They tried to have Daniel Bryan lose lose early. So like I said, just tear just just tear. That's another reason I hate WWE. So yeah, New Japan and TNA, they have real top baby faces. Next, they have better wrestling. Even though WWE's wrestling is starting to become a little bit better, fast-paced, exciting brawls and larger-than-life characters that I that I can relate to. WWE has lame acts like the New Day, the Poor Man's Team, Fandango and Tyler Breeze's gimmick. There's this varsity. I keep forgetting what they're called, but this lame varsity guys in blue and white on SmackDown. I keep forgetting what their gimmick is called. So like I said, so much lame characters on Raw. Even the stuff I do like the shining stars. T.J. Perkins' gimmick, which like I said, T.J. Perkins is the definition of vanilla midget, man. Lame 1980s Pac-Man music. Um, yeah, lame characters and boring and dull, uninteresting storylines. Only the Chris Jericho's storyline on Raw, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns storyline on Raw interests me. All the other storylines bore me to tears, man. So no interesting storylines or feuds, interesting storylines or feuds, man. And and yeah, so yeah, that's why I like all the Japanese, the New Japans, all the other wrestling promotions better because WWE is just terrible, man. WWE is just boring. And I'm so happy I stopped watching that garbage. Well, like I said, this was some reasons why I don't like the WWE. There'll be more videos like this with me individually comparing why each promotion is better than WWE. All right, I'm done.